Welcome to a new episode of Spirit in Stone. Maybe you have already noticed the flag here behind me. I am currently in southern Thailand near the city of Krabi, and here along this beautiful river there are hundreds of limestone cliffs with many caves where they found in the past very ancient and surprisingly large skeletons. Just a couple of weeks ago, there are reports that they found another huge giant skeleton here along this river in a cave. Today I want to look for this giant skeleton and see with my own eyes if this is real. I hope they will let me in because it seems like it's still an ongoing archaeological excavation site. But I will try my best to find the place and let's see if we can talk to someone who will let us in. So, I hope you enjoy this video and let's go! So, it seems like we first have to walk through this mangrove forest here. Very interesting and beautiful landscape. I'm really excited to explore this place. This finding must be only a few weeks old. They just found it, I think, in early February. That's what my contact told me, at least. Here you can see on the right side here where I'm walking is the river. And then they built this walking path here so you can walk through the mangrove forest. And here in Thailand, they are slowly starting to prepare for Songkran, which is the Thai New Year's festival. It is celebrated on April 13 to 15 every year. And most people, they only know it as the crazy water festival, where they have these giant water splash parties in Bangkok. And Songkran can be also called one of the Aryan New Year's festivals. They are celebrating the day when the sun enters the constellation of Aries. The term Aryan is often completely misunderstood, especially in the German-speaking countries. But historically, it refers to the Indo-Iranian or Indo-Germanic or Indo-European people who brought Sanskrit and the Vedic culture to India. The Indo-European language family is the most widespread language family in the entire world, and it connects Europe with Asia and the Indian subcontinent. Just to give you a quick overview and some of the examples of these so-called Aryan languages or Indo-European languages, or however you want to call them. We have the Indo-Aryan languages. This includes Sanskrit and Pali, as well as modern languages such as Hindi, Bengali or Urdu, or most languages that are today spoken in India. And then we have the Iranian languages. This includes Avestan, the language of Zoroastrianism. And then we have Old Persian and modern Farsi, which is the modern Persian, as well as Kurdish and Pashto. Then we have the European languages, the Germanic languages, which is German, English, Dutch. We have the Italic, Roman languages, Latin, French, Spanish. Oh, look at this. There is some kind of viewing tower, a viewpoint tower. Let's check it out. Very beautiful scenery here. So yeah, we have the Germanic languages, the Roman languages, Latin, French, Spanish, Portuguese, all these. Then we have Greek, we have the Celtic languages, and then we have the Slavic branch, which includes Russian, Ukrainian, Polish, all these Eastern European languages. And then we have the Baltic languages, which includes Lithuanian and Latvian. And what is also very interesting, Lithuanian in particular is considered by linguists to be the living language that is most similar in its structure to the ancient Sanskrit. Yeah? Very surprising. And then we have the so-called Indianized languages, which are, for example, here in Southeast Asia, where I'm currently here, which is Thailand, Laos, Khmer, Cambodian language, Myanmar, Indonesian, Malay, all these languages. And also Japan, by the way. I saw recently a video from a Japanese linguist scientist who was suggesting that the Japanese language and culture is heavily influenced by Sanskrit and the Vedic culture. And then we have other languages like Armenian, Albanian, Anatolian, and also in China they spoke the Tocharian language, which surprisingly these texts were found in western China in the Tarim Basin, which is more or less the same area where they also found pyramids and fair-skinned or blonde or blue-eyed mummies. Very interesting, actually. And then we have minorities such as the Kalash in Pakistan and the Yazidi. Wow, we're about to reach the top, guys. Beautiful view here. I think the cave that I'm looking for is somewhere there, around this mountain. So we need to check for a boat. They told me that at the end of this mangrove forest there is a pier, a small pier, where there's fishermen who will be able to take me to the other side. Let's see. But first, let's enjoy the view, guys. Yeah, and here another brief note on the terminology. In modern day linguistics, they almost exclusively use the terms Indo-European, or in the German-speaking countries, they like to use also the term Indo-Germanic. And the word Aryan has been kind of banned from linguistics, and it's only exclusively used in Western academia today for the Indo-Iranian part of some of the language, which is today India and Iran. And these are also one of the very few countries that until today are still strongly identifying themselves with the term Aryan. While in the West, the word is often associated with very dark chapters of our history, in the East, in countries such as India, Thailand or Iran, it remains until this day a term for light, nobility, mental clarity and spiritual development. The word Iran itself means land of the Aryans. In modern-day Iran, Arya is an extremely popular first name for boys. There are many compound names like Arya Mer, which means light of the Aryans, which was one of the official titles of the last Shah. Unlike in Germany, for example, the name is completely free of racist or Nazi ideology in many countries. In Pali, for example, the language of the Theravada Buddhist text, the term Arya or Arya originally means noble or enlightened. Or here in Thailand, there's the term Arya Pugala. These are the noble persons. In Thailand, this refers to people who have already attained a level of enlightenment. A highly revered monk is often called Pra Arya Song, which means a noble or highly enlightened monk. And then in the Kurdish language, the name Arya is also very popular for boys. In Hindi, it is used as a respectful title for nobility, or also in Indonesian, it is used as an honorary title for the nobility and also as a first name. And apart from the word Arya or Aryan, there are countless words in the so-called Indo-European languages that clearly show that they all stem from the same root. It's practically the operating system of most languages from Berlin to Tokyo. Here I will show you some examples where you can see the similarities of all these languages. Here, for example, the word father or the word for mother. Or here you have the word for three or new. Or here the word for brother. These are all just random examples to show you that this all comes from the same source. But not only the language, but also the old Aryan New Year's festival connects all these cultures that we just discussed. In the Iranian cultural sphere, we have the so-called Nowruz festival, which translates to New Day. It takes place exactly on the spring equinox, usually on March 20 or March 21st. And this Nowruz festival is celebrated in countries such as Iran, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Azerbaijan, Kurdistan, northern Iraq. Then on the Indian subcontinent we have many regions and cultures that celebrate basically the same type of New Year's festival, also in Nepal and Sri Lanka. But here the date has shifted to April 13 or 14 due to the different calendar calculations. But these festivals are also direct siblings of Songkran, which is celebrated here in Thailand. Then in Europe, in fact, for centuries or even millennia, March or April was the standard time for the New Year in large parts of Europe. The fact that we celebrate on January 1st today is, historically speaking, at least for many regions, a relatively recent development. Many pre-Christian cultures in Europe relied on astronomy. The spring equinox around March 20 or March 21st marked the awakening of nature and was often celebrated as the true beginning of a new cycle. In the original Roman calendar, the year began also on March 1st. This is also the reason why our system or our calendar month, they don't make sense starting from September. They only make sense if you start counting with March. Let me explain. If you count like this: March, April, May, June, July, August, September, sept comes from 7. October, octo is the 8. November, November is the 9, nove. And December, diez, comes from 10. If anyone knows Spanish, you will immediately recognize this. And it wasn't until 153 BC that the Romans officially moved the beginning of the year to January. However, January 1st was frowned upon as a pagan custom until the Middle Ages, and in large parts of Europe, the new year continued to be welcomed in March or April. In fact, in Great Britain, March 25 remained the official civil New Year's Day until the year 1752. Or in what is now France, the Easter style was very popular. The New Year began on Holy Saturday or directly on Easter Sunday. And then, for example, in Bali, in Indonesia, they also celebrate their New Year's festival exactly on the same time. Then we have the Holi festival in India, which is also basically the same. It's not a New Year's festival in that sense, but it stems from the same root. And then we have the so-called Songkran group, which are the Buddhist countries here in Southeast Asia, like Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, or Myanmar. So guys, I think it's time to go down and let's see if we can reach this cave there and have a look at the giant skeleton. Let's go. And Songkran marks the sun's entry into the zodiac sign of Aries. In the ancient world of the Indo-Europeans or the Aryans, this was the absolute 0 point, and the beginning of spring. And now comes an important detail, because the Persian Nowruz festival is fixed on March 21st, which is the spring equinox, when the day and night have the same length. The Songkran festival follows the actual stars. It still is celebrated on the day when the sun enters into Aries. And because of the precession of the Earth, the axis of the Earth that is moving like this, because of that, the date has moved from middle of March to now late April. And around 2000 years ago, these dates, they fell on the same time. There was a time when Songkran and all these Aryan New Year's festivals, they were celebrated at the same time. The time of Aries was roughly from 2000 BC to the year 0, you can say. And I find this a very, very interesting detail, and that leads you, of course, to other conclusions. And yeah, the similarities between these Indo-European or Indo-Iranian or Aryan people don't stop here. We don't only have the language and the New Year's festivals, they also carried a sign with them. And this sign is one of the oldest symbols of humanity. It is the swastika. Some of the oldest examples are more than 10,000 or 12,000 years old. And I think the oldest ones have been found in Ukraine, and they have been found all over the world where these Aryan cultures were emerging. They found them in Russia, in Greece, Troy was full of it, Italy, the Etruscans, the Romans used it, in Germany, Scandinavia, the Vikings, in India it is everywhere, Iran, Iraq, it appears on ceramic bowls, in the Samara culture in Iran it appeared already like around 5000 BC, and even in China mummies have also been found there that have European or Indo-European features, such as blonde or red hair, and they were very tall, and they had swastika patterns on their clothing, and wheel symbols were found in their graves. And these people, they brought knowledge from the Caucasus or Anatolia deep into China. Yeah, then in North America we have the Hopi and the Navajo, which also use the swastika on their clothing and pottery. In Central and South America we find it in the Maya and Aztec culture, and even as far as Ethiopia the swastika can be found in window ornaments and these super old megalithic rock churches. And even today in some countries the swastika still plays a very strong role in people's lives. Yeah, such as India, Nepal, Bhutan. If you've ever been to India, it's really literally everywhere. Like on every temple, people hang it on their entrance door or on their windows. It's really everywhere. Then in Japan, Thailand, Tibet, Mongolia, China, and also the Native Americans, they still value and worship and use this symbol until this day. And unfortunately, also this symbol has been heavily demonized in Europe and the Western world. And for everyone who will throw now some kind of racist comments here at me, this whole topic and this symbol is way older than your whole racism topic, okay? So please think a little bit before you write bad comments here. And it doesn't stop with the swastika, guys. We have way more similarities that all point to that all these cultures that we just discussed, that they all stem from the same source. Yeah, we keep on finding mummies all over the world that partially contain DNA markers for light skin and blue eyes and are surprisingly tall. Also, the Prophet Muhammad had red or orange hair. And that's also the reason why you see Muslims in many parts of the world coloring their beard or their hair red. You see that a lot in India or in Pakistan, or even in Dubai you can see that. And then we have the distribution of horses and wagons and the wheel and horse carriages. This also popped up almost simultaneously in all these cultures, or in many of them. Then we have the knowledge about astronomy. All these people had very strong knowledge about astronomy. They built their huge megalithic buildings. They built them exactly facing celestial bodies or exactly north-south, so they had deep knowledge about these things. Another very important key feature is also the megalithic structures and the subterranean underground facilities that are worldwide. This is also a thing, especially in these regions where we believe that these cultures came from, but also in others. You can find these kind of underground cities or cave cities. A lot of them are in the region around Anatolia, Iran, Georgia, but of course also in other parts of the world. I mean, we all know by now that even Egypt seems to have like vast networks of underground tunnels. In China also we have huge cave cities. Here in Southeast Asia we have underground facilities. In India there is a lot Tibet. And also we have, of course, stories and very old legends that tell exactly about this, yeah, about these ancient subterranean cities or facilities. The story that a great cataclysm happened, and that might be also the reason why they went down under the earth. And then we have another one, in my opinion, that is also very important. All these cultures had knowledge or the recipe to cast artificial stone. Yeah, they were able to cast geopolymer stone. According to Marcel Foti, who is the author of the book The Natron Theory, the link for the book you can find in the description and in the comments, and he suggests that the geopolymer technology, the recipe to cast artificial stone, has been lost and rediscovered at least 4 or 5 times in our history. And according to him, the Egyptian pyramid blocks, which are also probably cast, by the way, that these are the 4th version of the geopolymer evolution. And the first version, according to Marcel Foti, are these so-called menhir stones that we usually connect with the early Stone Age. And another similarity that we already spoke about earlier is the Aries cult. Yeah? Many of these cultures, they were obsessed with Aries. You find this symbol everywhere in the ancient world, also in ancient Egypt. We have the Alley of the Rams in Karnak, in Luxor. They also use this animal a lot in their decoration. And another thing that we can find also is the appearance of red ochre paintings. Yeah, these very old, mostly cave paintings, or sometimes you find it on pottery with red ochre. Yeah, for some reason they use the same paint, iron oxide, and also they use very similar symbols. Yeah, if I show you, for example, Nakada pottery and some of the red ochre paint that I discovered in Anatolia, in the region where you find also Derinkuyu and all the other underground cities, you can see that there is a very strong similarity. And I believe this can be also connected to all these cultures, the appearance of these red ochre paintings. And these red ochre paintings, they appear also before the Younger Dryas and before the Ice Age. Yeah, we have these super old cave paintings in France and Spain and other parts of the world. And this is usually also made with red ochre. Oh, it seems like I have reached the boat pier here. There is a small house here, and here is the pier. But it seems like there is no boat yet. No captain yet. Wow, beautiful view here. I guess I'll just sit down or walk a little bit more and then come back. Yeah, so this red ochre paint connection, I believe that this is also something that all these cultures left behind. And this brings us then to the next topic. Why do we have all this confusion with Indo-Germanic, Indo-Iranian, Aryan, all these names, Indo-European? That is because there are different models about where they first appeared and how they spread over the world. There are different models for that. The most popular one is that they come from the Caucasus region, or from the region which is modern-day Ukraine or southern Russia, that they appeared there first and then they spread out towards the west and towards Iran. And then we have the counter theory that it all started more or less in modern-day Iran or Anatolia, and that they spread out from there. Then there's also the out of India theory, which is of course very popular in India, but I believe that recent DNA studies in the recent decades have revealed that this can be discarded, I believe. Personally, I'm leaning towards the second theory, that they started to spread out from Anatolia or modern-day Iran. And there are several reasons for that, which I might explain in another video. Oh, I can hear a boat. Let's check that out. But yeah, the majority of Western scientists, they mostly agree on that it all started in the Caucasus region. But yeah, as I mentioned before, we also have the interesting question, why did they all appear so sudden? Yeah, these people, they appeared suddenly around 4000 BC, and they already had like the wheel, they had horse carriages, they had written languages, they had domesticated animals and buildings and all these things, astronomical knowledge. This is not really answered how this happened. I believe there is a very good explanation for that. You know, many of these technologies or sciences that popped up in many different parts of the world where these cultures later were active. For example, in Egypt, it all started suddenly with the pyramids and all these megalithic buildings and hieroglyphs and complicated science, medical science and all these things. And that's the case in many of these cultures that we discussed earlier. And I really like the explanation that there were signs of a global cataclysm in the sky, which was the start for all these flood myths, or maybe it happened even before. But anyway, all these people, they were warned and they dug out underground cities and cave cities where they seek refuge. They stayed down there, and then the big cataclysm really happened in whatever form. If it was electromagnetic radiation or a great flood or whatever it was, but they stayed down there for thousands of years. And then when the climate was okay again, they emerged from their subterranean facilities, and then they started all these civilizations all over the world. Yeah, as I said before, we have a lot of legends that describe also exactly that. Yeah, for example, in the Iranian culture, we have the Vara, which is a story about also a underground refuge that has been built because a great cataclysm is coming upon them. So they have to dig out this underground city, which they call Vara, which is basically like a subterranean ark. And yeah, there are many, many connections when you start looking into this. Also, in 2017, there was a huge DNA study from the Max Planck Institute in Germany, and they analyzed a bunch of mummies from Egypt. And what they found is that the DNA of these mummies was almost genetically identical to the populations of the Levant and Anatolia at that time. And they showed significantly higher genetic similarity to European populations of the Neolithic and Bronze Age than to modern-day Egyptians. Let that sink in. And there is a possibility that because of the ancient Egyptians were genetically so close to the Levant and Anatolia, they belonged maybe to the same gene pool from which the Indo-European and Indo-Iranian migrations also originated. There are many signs that point to this. Okay, let's check again if there is a boat somewhere nearby. Oh yeah, that looks good. There is one. There is one guy. You see these street lights here, these LED lights and these solar panels? They have been all destroyed by monkeys. The monkeys, they climb up here and look what damage they are causing. They're taking all these lights apart here. Very naughty monkeys. I asked the fishermen about the cave with the giant skeleton, and it turned out the legend weren't just stories. They knew exactly where the giant skeleton has been found and how to reach it. After negotiating the price, it took us about 10 minutes upstream until we reached our destination. Okay guys, we're reaching the pier. I'm so excited to see this excavation site, really. I hope we can see the skeleton. When I asked the fishermen about the skeleton, they immediately said, yeah, it's huge, it's very big, they say. So let's see what we're gonna find. Let's see. Okay guys, we have reached the pier. Looks very well maintained here. They put like a proper bridge here and seems like also some kind of access control. Let's see what we're gonna find here. Yeah, so far I haven't met anyone yet here on this other side of the river. Wow, interesting rock formations here. These are all limestone cliffs here and it looks really beautiful. Look at that. Wow, and there's some monkeys here. There's some beautiful monkeys here. Entire family here. Wow. That's cool. These are the so-called Langurs. These are here in Thailand known as the friendly monkeys or the polite monkeys. There are some monkeys that are very naughty that sometimes attack also, which are these, I think they're called pigtail macaques. These are like brownish monkeys. But these ones are called Langurs. They look very beautiful. They're grayish and they have a white face and they're very cute and sweet and never aggressive. Okay guys, I think we have reached the cave. There are some stairs here that lead into the cave. This is also something that I love about Thailand. You know, like in Thailand, actually all caves are kind of like holy and they are still being worshipped. And usually they convert them into places of worships or small temples, which is why they're usually very well accessible, as you can see here. I'm not even sure if this is the correct cave or maybe there's more here, I don't know. I know that this area here has hundreds of caves. And as I mentioned before, they found many ancient skeletons here in that area. I think the oldest ones have been dated to almost 29,000 years. Oh, look at that. And many of these skeletons that have been found here, they were significantly taller than the average population here. Wow, that is a beautiful cave. That is so nice. Look at that, guys. That is so cool. Okay, let's see if we can find this skeleton. Let's see. And here's also some kind of showcase here. What's that here? Look at that, guys. What's that? These are giant teeth, guys. Look at that. It's very dirty, but these are the teeth of the giant, guys. Unbelievable. Guys, I think we are in the right cave. Look at this. There are remains of a skeleton here. I cannot go down there, but there is a skeleton, but I think that's not the giant skeleton. This one is relatively small, actually. Crazy, look at that. It's still here. That is crazy. Whoa, guys, look at that. What's this? There is a skull, guys. There is a skull. And there is also ceramic pottery or something. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to be here. There was no one here. Look at that. There is a skull, guys. And here, what do we have here? This is still an active excavation here, guys. Oh my God, there is really a skull there. What else must be buried here in this cave? This is crazy. Let's see what else we can find here. What is this here? What is all this? Oh, guys, you know what? I think these are fossilized trees here, what we are seeing here. Do you see that? I think we're looking at fossilized trees here. Look at that, guys. That's exactly how I would imagine a fossilized tree here also. Strange, really. Oh my God, guys, I found it. It's here. It's here, guys. It really exists. Oh my God. Look at that. That is insane. Guys, it's really a giant. That is insane. It's a giant. Oh my God. That is unbelievable. The head is huge. Wow, I will go down there, guys. I will go down and check it out. I have to check it out. Look at this. Look at these huge bones. Oh my God. It's still here, guys. Oh my God, really, this is crazy. Look at this huge head. I will put my foot next to it so you can see how big it is. That is absolutely insane, guys. Look at that. My God, it is really a giant. I hope nobody will see me here. It's really a giant, guys. Look at how huge this thing is. Look at that. It's enormous, guys. It's absolutely enormous. This is a world sensation, guys. Look at this. It is so huge. And what else this is here? It seems like there was also a skeleton of a snake or something here. Look at the size of these bones, guys. Look at this joint here. Oh my God, this is still half buried in the ground. It is still half buried in the ground, guys. This is crazy. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Look at how huge this thing is. And there is a snake or something. There is a skeleton of a giant snake also here. My God, this is so crazy, guys. I cannot believe all this. I cannot believe that this is real. Oh my God, there's people coming, I think. I think there's someone coming. I have to hide. I'm not really sure if I'm allowed to be here. I think there are people entering the cave from the other side. I will try to sneak out so that they don't see me. Yeah, guys, of course this skeleton is not real, but I thought it's a nice idea for an April Fool's video. And this cave here is actually an art installation inspired by real archaeology and also inspired by local legends. By the way, this is modern day Portland cement, and it doesn't last nearly as long as the good old Geopolymer, which is why this skeleton is already in a very bad condition. There is a local legend that these two beautiful hills that you see outside rising on the river on both sides, that there was once a giant who was fighting with a giant snake because they both fell in love with the same princess, and during the battle they both died and their dead bodies then converted into these hills. A Taiwanese artist took this legend and inspired himself to make this sculpture here. But there is also some truth in it, because as I explained earlier, in this region here and particularly on this river, there are so many caves where they really found many very, very old skeletons that are significantly larger than the local population. Some of them are almost 2 meters tall. And this entire cave here has been converted into a art or educational installation. There is another interesting detail here that I would love to show you guys. Check this out. You know, earlier I spoke about the red ochre connection. They also found red ochre paint here in these caves. Here we have some monkey-like cavemen eating raw meat. Yeah, this is the one that I wanted to show you guys. Look at that. Here we have red ochre paint. This is what they usually tell us, that these were all almost monkey-like cavemen who weren't able to do anything else than pounding stones somewhere, but they were able to do very sophisticated cave paintings. Yeah, this is a very interesting installation here, I have to say. And of course also the skull and these ceramic artifacts here. None of this is ancient. The skull is probably also made from concrete, and also the other skeleton that we saw. And also the fossilized trees are also made from concrete. A very interesting place here. Yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed this video about the giant skeleton of Krabi. If you like to leave me a small donation, you can use the PayPal link in the description. Thank you so much for your time and happy April Fool's Day, and see you in the next video. Ciao!